Let me start from Yak. Yak is yet another compiler. Why do we need Yak? So Yak help us to write the compiler. Uh, when you develop the compiler, so Yak will help to automate the syntactic analyzing part. So these are the topics which we are going to cover in this session. We will be discussing about how the Yak is being used, what are the grammars, the parsing techniques. Then we will be discussing about the definition section, role section, and user subroutine section in Yak. Then we'll be having the arithmetic expressions and ambiguity. Finally, we'll be discussing about the variables and type tokens. So why do we require Lex and Yak? So while writing the compiler, it will take a lot of time. To reduce that and automate the compiler writing, we can go with the Lex and Yak. So in the compilation process, we have the scanner and parser and code generation. So these are the major phases in compiler. So the first two part, scanner and parser. So scanning and parsing, that will be done with the help of the lexical rules and the grammar. So the lexical rules, which is done with the help of the lex and the grammatical grammar we can create in the Yak. So what is Yak? Yak is a tool which will produce a parser for the given grammar. So Yak is a program which is designed in order to compile a LA-LR grammar and which produces the source code of the syntactic analyzer of the language which is given in the grammar. So what do you mean by LA-LR grammar? LA-LR is nothing but look ahead left recursive grammar, and within bracket you can see 1, which means it look ahead for a single token. That single token is nothing but 1, which is represented in the bracket. So look ahead for a token. It's a left recursive grammar, so which will be used in the Yak. So what you see here is how the Yak work. So initially we have the Yak program, so which can be created using the extension .y, as like how you can create the Lex program. Same way, using any editor, you can create the Yak program with the extension .y. Let us say the name of the program here we have taken as gram.y. And we call the Yak, so that will be creating the file called y.tab.c. Again, you could see that there is a C program file which is created by the Yak. Then we can call the C compiler. Either CC or GCC compiler can be used. So which will be creating the a.out, that is an executable file. So that will parse the grammar which is given in the gram.y. So if you look at this diagram, which will give detailed explanation about in each step what happens. When the Yak program is given to the Yak, which will be creating a different files. The first file would be y.tab.h and the second file would be y.tab.c. So depending on what is the option we give, y.output file will be generated. So now these files will be generated once you execute the Yak command. And when you call the CC, that is compile time, when you are doing the compilation, so the y.tab.c will be the input for the CC and it creates the a.out. So when the tokens are given as an input for this file at the time of running the program, it creates the abstract syntax tree, so which is coming out from the Yak. So this is one example for the Yak program. You can see we can have the definition section, rule section, and user subroutine section. In the definition section, we can see that the hash include statement is there. Stdio.h header file is being included. And we have a token definition. So there is a keyword used for this purpose, percentage tokens. The percentage token is used for defining the token. So what are the tokens which are used here is name and number. Name and, name and number is being used here. So the next one is the rule section. Then after the rule section, what you could see is the user subroutine section, wherein you can have the main function as well as you can have some other functions also. Say for example here, you can find YY error. So YY error is being called whenever the grammar is not satisfied. So in the YY error, we can print the statement or the string, whatever you want to display. In main function, you have the function which has to be called is nothing but YY parse. So the parser has to be invoked, for which we have the YY parse. In the rules part, we have the grammar. So the grammar notation would be like this. The grammar notation would be like this. So here you have the here you can see the grammar part wherein the rules are given. So the grammar which will be having two part. One is LHS and another one is the RHS. In LHS, we can have the non-terminal symbol. In the RHS, we can have the terminal symbol or the non-terminal symbol. So in the non-terminal symbol, we can have the statements, what are the symbols you want to create, what are the symbols you want to create, that can be there in the non-terminal symbol. And in the right hand side of the rule, we can have either the non-terminal symbol or the terminal symbol. Terminal symbols are nothing but the token. Terminal symbols are nothing but the token. So token which we receive from the legs. Now in the non-terminal symbol, we can create any symbol, and that can be present in the RHS also. So when you want to repeat or when you want to call by the same symbol, that time you can use the non-terminal symbol. So in the right hand side of the rule, either you can have the terminal symbol or the non-terminal symbol. In the left hand side of the rule, we can have the non-terminal symbol. So you can represent the non-terminal symbol by using the start keyword. So the percentage start keyword will tell you that we will be using the non-terminal symbol in our grammar. That is optional one. If you would like to introduce, you can introduce. Otherwise, you can straight away give the non-terminal symbol. Say for example, if you look at the grammar, there are two grammars we have. Statement, colon, name equal to expression. So this is one set. In the next line, if you see pipeline, expression we have. So what it is trying to say is, so if you have anything like, say for example, A equal to A plus B. So if you have such kind of thing, or A is equal to 10 plus 20. If you have some input like this, then which has to be processed by the grammar, which has to be matched with the grammar, and it has to say whether it is proper input or not. And if you look at the second grammar, expression colon, expression plus number. And in the second line, we have expression minus number. In the third line, we have number. So generally, it will be doing from the bottom to top approach. That is parsing approach will be used in the grammar, especially in the rule section. If you take, so when the token is received by the Yak, say as you mentioned earlier, the token would be name and number. So when you have an example, say for example, A is equal to 10 plus 20. So when you read A, that is the name. Right? So when you read A, that's a name equal to, in the right hand side we have 10 plus 20. So the 10 is nothing but number. So that will be replaced by expression. And the plus after that 20. So when you have the 20, the value 20, so we have the number, so the token number. So expression plus number, that will be replaced by expression. So name is equal to expression that you received in the right hand side of the row. So that will be replaced by a statement. So once you reach the top of the grammar, then you can say yes, printf you can give and say that yes, this particular input is valid. So this is the grammar which is matched with the input, and your input is a valid input. So like that it will display the values. I will give you example how these tokens are received from the Lex and how it is processed by the Yak. So when if there is a problem during this matching the input with the grammar, then it will be calling the YY function, and wherein it displays that what is the message you want to return. So this animation gives you how exactly Lexan Yak works. As I told you already, I have mentioned in the previous session, when we want to combine Lex and Yak programs. So when you combine the Lex and Yak program, Yak will be in the higher level routine. So from the Yak, the program start executing. Then in turn, it will be calling the Lex. So from the Yak, it's invoking the YY parse function. So from the YY parse, it calls the YY Lex, right? Now there is an input that is 12 plus 26. As you could see, 12 plus 26. So in the Lex program, we should write the rule section in order to recognize this input. And we have the statement, we have the input in which we have the expression 12 plus 26. So this 12 plus 26, this statement is a proper statement or not, that will be checked in the Yak. So in the first thing, Lex will be able to identify the tokens. Then the token is returned to the Yak, wherein it checks the input and it is verifying that the input is following the grammar or not, or the rules or not. So when I give the input to you, 12 plus 26, so everybody will accept that, yes, it's an expression, it's a proper expression. But have you given the rules for this expression in the grammar, in the Yak program? So if it is given, then it will accept this input and say that, yes, it's a valid input. That is what exactly happening here. So with the animation, I'll show you how this is happening. So Yak will be started when you have the Lex and Yak program, and it will be calling the Lex through the YY Lex. So it calls YY Lex function, and now it's the job of the Lex to return the token, because the Yak will be asking the token to the Lex. So to identify or to recognize the input, the Lex will be having the pattern. The regular expressions will be used in order to form the pattern. So 0 to 9 plus. So what is the 0 to 9? So it is a range from 0 up to 9. And we have the character class. Within the square bracket, you have the number. So in the input, any one of this number is there, then it can be accepted. And if you look at the input, you take the first input 12. So 12 is a number. In the 12, we have two digits, 1 and 2. in the 12, number 12, we have the digits 1 and 2. So with respect to the pattern 0 to 9, so yes, this 1 is belonging to this range. Yes, it can be accepted. And 2, yes, it is belonging to this range, so it can be accepted. But why do we have the plus symbol? So in the input, if it has one or more occurrence of this number, of this range. So 12 which has two occurrence of this number. So 1 and 2. So 1 is belonging to this range, 2 is belonging to this range. So there are two occurrences. So the whole thing is considered as one input. If you don't have plus, then what will happen? 1 will be considered as a separate input, 2 will be considered as a separate input. Getting the point? So 12 has to be considered as a single input. That is why there is a plus. So the plus symbol represents, it's a meta character which represent one or more occurrence of the preceding character. What is the preceding character? That is a character class which can accept the numbers. Which can accept the numbers that can occur many times. So 12 is a one single number. So now the 12 is accepted. So it is able to recognize the number 12 using the pattern. Then now what happens? So from the legs, it can return the token. So what is the token is returned? Num. So we represent num. So the num has the number 12. So it will be returned to the Yak. So when the next symbol is, next input is read, that is a plus. So as it is, we are having plus. Then we have the input 26. So actually for the plus, there is no corresponding pattern is used. So it is an unmatched pattern. So it will be written as it is. And coming to the 26, number 26, when you have, again, it will be matched with the 0 to 9 plus, so that the token will be accepted, token will be generated, and this token will be returned to the parser again. So now you have the statement like num plus num. If you have the grammar according to this pattern, I mean the statement, then we can say yes, our input is matching with the grammar, and we say that our input is a correct one. So this is how the lex and yak together, it checks the input is valid or not, whether the input is according to the structure or the rule or not. So here we have the technique which is used in parsing, the shift and reduce technique. The shift and reduce technique, we use it here in order to identify how the parsing process will be happening. So in the case of parsing, we will be using this techniques, shifting techniques and as well as reducing technique. Sometimes we do shifting, sometimes we do reducing. So this is what exactly happening there. So this particular thing which gives you the way of parsing, the process of parsing happened in Yak. Before moving to this, let me go back to the program where I have shown you about the Yak. Now, let us come back to this program. This is the place where I have told you how exactly the lex and yak works together. So this is only providing the yak, and in the lex part we should have the corresponding patterns. Using those patterns, we will be able to get the token and identify the input. Now, if you look at this one, you just compare the next example, this example. So here we use, instead of num, we use the number token. Okay? Instead of num, we use the number token. And here we have one more token is name. Say for example, in this example, input is given as 12 plus 26. If suppose the input has the value, let us say a equal to 12 plus 26. If you have in such a way, if you have the input in such a way, a is equal to 12 plus 26. So how this program is going to accept the input? That is what the YARK program deals with. Now, if you look at the second grammar, what happens? I will come back to this action part later. So if you look at the grammar, same way how we are having in the LEX program, similar to that we are having in the YARK also. YARK also we have the grammar and the action corresponding. Once the grammar is matched, we have the action. So in this, what we do here is, when there is a match with the input, the grammar is matched with the input, what happens is the right hand side will be replaced by left hand side. So what do you mean by right hand side and left hand side? So before the colon in the grammar is ended with semicolon. This is the structure we need to follow. This is a notation we need to follow when you write a grammar. So when you have this grammar here, so it is ended with semicolon, and you have the LHS and you have the RHS. When you have the RHS, wherein you can see expression plus number, expression minus number, then we have number. So the pipeline which says that either the expression plus number or the expression minus number or the numbers. Any one of these right hand side is matched with the grammar, with the input, then we can say yes, the right hand side will be replaced by left hand side. So what is there in the left hand side? The expression. So RHS will be replaced by LHS. Now I'll just show the input over here. We have A equal to 12 plus 26. I have told you to change the input as A is equal to 12 plus 26. I have used the input for explaining how the LEX and YARK works. So now we have to know how this YARK program works. So with the example that wherein we can include A is equal to 12 plus 26. Now, so what is A? So A is input, one input, right? Now, to pass this A as a token, we need to understand that one point, it has to be identified by LEX. How the LEX will identify this input A? If it has the pattern, if the pattern is matched with the input, then it will be able to generate the token. It is identifying the meaningful unit and it is able to generate the token. Now, so A, in which pattern the A will be accepted? So we have seen already in a character class, if you have A to Z, in a character class, if you have A to Z, so which is telling that any name, right? So A to Z plus, if you have the pattern, that can accept, that can match the input. So if you have a match for the input, which is there in the rule section of the LEX program, then it can return the token. So what token it will return according to this program? Name is a token, right? So if you see the first grammar, in the right hand side, we have name. We have name, that is the terminal symbol. So that is a token actually. that is available in the right hand side. But we could not replace the RHS by LHS because it is not fully completed. It's not fully completed. So what we do, still some more input is there. Still there are some more input. So name, the next input is equal to. So the equal to symbol we are having here separately. Then we have the number 12, right? So already we have seen that 12 can be accepted by 0 to 9 plus. So that what will happen? It returns the token as number. So where do you find the number, the token number in the grammar? The second grammar. In the third line, we have the number. So the number is matched. The number can be replaced by, so once the grammar is matched, RHS will be replaced by LHS. So what is RHS? Token is RHS, that is number is RHS. That can be replaced by LHS. What is LHS? Expression. Now you have the expression. So you have name equal to, still we are not reducing this one, we keep as an expression, and we are not going to reduce now because still more input is there, so we want to parse it. So what is the next one? So plus. So we have plus, so we take the second grammar, expression plus. So in the right hand side, the first line of the second grammar, expression plus we have, then the next is 26. 26 can be accepted by the 0 to 9 plus, so it returns the token as number. So when you have the number token, so now you have expression plus number. So this is a grammar which is satisfied with the second grammar. So RHS will be replaced by LHS. So what is RHS? Expression plus number. So it will be replaced by LHS. What is LHS? Expression. Now there is no more input over here. So now if you see the first grammar, name equal to expression. So there is no more input. So we can do now reducing, name equal to expression. So this is the right hand side is replaced by left hand side. This is called as the reducing actually. So that is why I have come back to this program again to explain about the working of this program. So name is equal to expression. So the right hand side will be replaced by the left hand side of the rule. So what is there in the left hand side? Statements. Once it reaches the top of the grammar and further no more inputs, so it reaches the top of the grammar and you got the LHS of the grammar, then it can say that this input is valid input. So whatever we have given, A equal to 12 plus 26 is according to the grammar, and we say that input is a valid input. So that is how this program is validating the input. So this is what exactly which is given in this. So now we will be moving on to the next concept, that is shift and reduce. So already I have mentioned about the reduce. So reduce is basically the right hand side of the rule. If it is matched, then it will be replaced by left hand side of the rule. So once the input is matching with the grammar, then RHS will be replaced by LHS. That's what exactly called as reduce. And what is shifting? Shifting is basically moving the token into the stack. Moving the token into the stack. That is called as the shifting, right? So shift and reduce. So whenever there is a token which appears, it will be shifted into the stack. We use the stack so that the tokens are kept over there. And when there is a match, if the tokens are able to match with the grammar, that is the RHS is matched, then RHS will be replaced by LHS. RHS will be replaced by LHS. That is known as the reducing concept. So using the stack, how this shifting and reducing will be happening, that we will be discussing exactly in the next session with an example. So with this, I'll be ending the session. In the next session, we'll be discussing about the shift and reducing with an example.